Evening, folks. Working on a 3.5 liter, not an EcoBoost, just their straight 3.5 V6. This happens to be on the 2013 Explorer. However, I'm sure that they were used in other vehicles. I think the Fusion, the Taurus, so on and so forth. That's really neither here nor there, but today we're doing spark plugs. Once we get the top of this cover off, you'll see a little bit more of what we got to get into. We actually need to take the intake off. And we'll just hop right to this. I've got to take you out of your seat here for a second. Apologize for the shakiness. There are two tabs that hold this cover in here. There's one here, which this is technically not a screw. However, you can lefty-loosey unscrew it and it will pop right out of there. It's into a threaded spot in the throttle body and you can just pluck it right out of there. But it's like a, it's kind of like a friction pin, but it does unscrew out of there. Now the other one, it's just a push pin style, and sorry for the shadow there. Let me see if I can fix that for you. There we go, that's a little better. You can see there's the washer part of it here around the bottom edge, and then the pin is here in the middle. You can probably get that with a thumbnail or not. Of course, it's going to make a liar out of me. We'll try a knife, and then if that doesn't work, we'll do a screwdriver. There we go. You can see I just got it popped out of there a little bit. It will come out a little bit farther, and actually right about there is the end of it, and just leave it in there and it'll pop right out. Okay. And I will tell you that in lieu of losing things, I will put that push pin, screw pin, whatever back in there. Now on most of these, where the oil fill is, you can see there's a riser on there. I really apologize for the camera here. And typically you can grab the whole riser and unscrew it and pull it out of your way. However, this one does not want to be that friendly, so I'm just going to ease it up and around there and it'll pop right off. And really, for the amount of times you're going to have that off there, you're not really hurting anything. I would rather put a small tear or rip into that vanity cover or whatever you want to call it than break off the oil fill extension. So let me get that pin back in here so I don't lose it. Now for spark plugs, if you've just bought spark plugs, you're going to find out that you're going to need an intake gasket. And while you're in there, once we get this intake out of the way, you can get to your PCV valve and change that as well. Now I went ahead, I got from the dealer actually the actual PCV and intake gasket. I was able to find the intake gaskets elsewhere, however the PCV not so much. Other brands had it, but I was also reading that it's a dealer item only. So when I run into something like that, if my local auto parts store is going to have a problem getting it, I'm not even going to give them the chance to sell me the wrong part, or end up not getting it at all. So total on the PCV and the gasket was $33.07 straight from the dealer. So not terrible. You're going to be in there anyway. You're going to want to replace that gasket, so might as well do the PCV while you're at it. and be ahead of the game. The spark plugs, I gotta look up what they ran. Those I was able to get on Amazon, and I may link that, the spark plugs into the lower section of this. Apologize for my rambling here. We're going to hop to it here very shortly. At any rate, I will dig that up and find out exactly what I paid on the spark plugs. So to get rolling on this, we're going to start removing part of the air intake system here from the air filter back to the throttle body. Nothing too crazy really. You'll find right here where your air box is, and by air box I mean where your air filter sits inside. Just behind that is your mass airflow sensor. You don't have to take it out, just unplug it. There are actually two clips on these, and you'll see on the back side it's actually underneath when it's plugged in, but you'll see this little red keeper, and you need to pull that back before you can push down on that that side of the primary keeper to get it out. There is, sorry, we gotta go for a walk again. I just want to make sure that you can see these connections I'm undoing. So back behind, these are called resonators. These two small boxes right here. You've got, I want to say this is probably an evap line. I'm no mechanic, folks, so take it with a grain of salt. This line here, you actually pull this tab back and over, and that hose pops right off. No sweat. Okay. Next one we're going to take off is another one coming to this resonator here, and we're just going to disconnect it right here, and we're going to leave that flop. However, I did not bring a pair of pliers with me, so hold that thought one moment. Alright, back with my pliers. Now this hose might actually be a little bit sticky here. We'll see. Let's give that a squeeze. We'll work it back off of that tail there. Let's see if we can do this barehanded without hitting a trim tool or a screwdriver. So I ended up needing to get a tool. I just got a little trim tool here. I'll try it with that first. Hopefully that'll get it. Next order of business will be a screwdriver. Nope, got it. Sometimes you just gotta break that front edge, and it's enough to get that whole thing to pop off of there. Of course, it wants to be argumentative. That barb is like way back here, so. She's a fighter. Alright, put that out of the way. Just leave that be. Let it sit where it is. I should be ready to actually disconnect that from the throttle body, which is that hose clamp right there. There's actually two of them. There's one up by the airbox here, and there's the one back there. We only need to take that that farthest back one off. It really doesn't need to come off, it just needs to be loosened up. It's an 8mm, I think. Yes. Let's take a little tension off of that. Pop the back clips off the airbox, and we should be ready to take this out. Bust it loose off of the throttle body. I pulled that hose, this one here, actually comes back into that resonator. However, there's another line that comes along the bottom, so I just plucked that off. There may be a keeper on the mass airflow sensor. Let's see here, I'm not really sure how that's going to come off of there. That's just a friction pin as well. We're going to go for a ride again. I'm going to show you what I was just dealing with, in case you run into it. That's that airbox. It sits in there like something like that, like so. Mass airflow sensor plugs in right here. There's a little stand on it. You can see there's a little friction pin right on the end, and that actually sticks into the hole on the lid of this airbox. So you just kind of got to force it off of there. Kind of a clockwise and counterclockwise as you're pulling. Alright, keep running along here. Got an antifreeze return line, it looks like, right here. Just pluck that out of these clamps. We don't need to undo that. We don't need to take it off or anything. There's enough slack in it. We can pull it out of the way. I am not sure what this sensor is here, but we're going to unplug it. It is just a push pin. And then this, I don't remember what this line is. Let me find it here. That one right there with the green tab on it. There's one down underneath it as well. So you can see how it protrudes out there just a little bit. And there's one on the bottom. So basically we just squeeze those together and that should come right out. Squeeze and push to the left. And you can see that move there. And then that comes right away. Just to show you that again. You got two tabs here. Squeeze and push up. Finish pulling it out. That, let's clip down here. I'm just gonna get it out of that first one. Give me a little bit more room here. Gonna get that out of the way. Throttle body, which is right here. You see there's that little red pin there. That's gonna come out first. That's a safety. Locks the clip in there. Squeeze and pull. That's all there is to that. I think we're ready to go ahead and unbolt the intake itself. Those are 8 millimeters. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 6th one under that throttle body. I'll see if I can't get the camera in here in just a little bit to show you that. I'm sorry, there is another one back here hiding as well. That wasn't necessarily in any particular order. Sorry, I was still zoomed in a little bit. I bounced around a little bit. So let me point out those bolts again. I apologize for that. One here, 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 and then one underneath the throttle body this way. So I jumped around. I went here, 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 here. And it's just, that's kind of, I've always heard, always go in a sequence to tighten it down. Probably a good idea to go in a sequence to unbolt it. I'm not sure how much truth there is to that. But that's what we just did. So I'm going to see if I can get my camera in there to show you. If I can't, I will get a picture of it and we will put that in the video. Okay, for that last bolt, you can see intake cover here, or intake plenum, throttle body here, and that last bolt, you can reach in around the underneath over here, and you can see it as you're standing kind of right in front of the engine. I don't know that that's going to focus. That guy right there. Okay, so that's the last one that needs to come out. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but here we are saving money. Wish me luck that I don't drop it. I did not take that out all the way. I'm not 100% sure if that's a captured bolt or if it actually does come out of there. By captured, meaning like these 4 up here, you're not going to pull out of the intake. They are captured. That way they don't flatten out. Probably a faster placement at the factory, I'm sure. Man. There is not a lot of room to work in there. Okay, confirmed that's not a captured bolt. So you're going to want to be careful taking that out of there, that you don't drop it. I'm not sure if it would pop out the back end onto the floor or not. There's quite a bit of dirt here. So I should have blown this off prior to exposing the throttle body. However, lessons will be learned. You just want to get as much dirt off of there as you possibly can so it doesn't go into the engine. And I believe we're ready to pick this thing up. There is one last connection in the back there, which is the PCB connection. So we can't yank this out all willy-nilly right away. Missed a bolt. Hiding under that electrical line right there. Okay, we should be in business. Take this top one out. That is not captured. I think this harness is holding me up, as is its connection to the intake manifold. That is another push pan. Okay. Let's give it another go. We got it off of there, and I need to change your position so you can see that PCB a little bit better. Okay, currently you're standing in front of the passenger side headlight. You can see here's the intake manifold, and then you've got this hose running this way. Okay, that's your PCB going in right there to that valve cover. So we're going to disconnect either side of that. I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point. Hopefully it doesn't give me as much trouble as last hose connector. Alright, I really can't see those two connections currently. No, I think that's all. I don't know if there's enough slack in that. No, I had the bright idea to turn that and pop it out of there for myself, but that's not going to be possible. Okay, got that loose. Out we go. Yep, going for a ride again. So this is the underside of the intake manifold, intake plenum, however you want to look at it or call it or whatnot. But this is the gasket here, this green, and we'll be swapping that out. There's a little bit of oil. I'm not concerned with it. The engine's got 111,000 on it. There's not enough there to be concerned with. So you take that away and put that in a safe spot. Next, we have an opening to the engine right there. And it's a real good idea to take some clean rags or whatever and cover that up. You don't want anything foreign going into the engine. If it's in the engine and it didn't belong there in the first place, all that's going to do is cause you premature wear, premature breakdowns. Right. Short little ride. And now from this angle, I mean, before you could only see these 3 spark plugs, be it 1, 2, 3, and now easily we can get to those back there. So I'm going to pause you. I will zoom in on a spark plug. We'll do one. I'll do the rest off camera. I'm not going to bore you with 6 spark plug swaps. Pretty straightforward from here until we get back to putting the intake back on. Alright, down to the spark plugs. First things first, your little red tab. It's going to go back once, and I think it goes up one more time. Yep, that might be it on these. That's got to go up again. There it went. You don't want to go so far though that you break it off. Again, it's just another safety they have on these. These plugs are pretty damn stiff. Of course, they've been on here for quite some time. So you might want to get something to help yourself push that down. Sometimes finger strength isn't quite enough. Back onto the oil that was on the underside of the intake. I'm an idiot. That's the top end of the motor right there. Of course there's going to be oil. So brain fart on my part. 8mm holding this coil in. Sometimes these pop right out. Sometimes you gotta give them a little help. Just like that. Truth be told, these should be the original spark plugs. 111,000 on this motor. It's something that slipped my mind. Back in my day, you did spark plugs 30 to 45,000 miles. Now they're saying 100,000. However, I'm now hearing some pretty reputable mechanics say 60,000 miles, change them out. Don't believe 100,000. So that's probably the route I'm going to start taking. Just to alleviate any issues of an extra 40,000 that doesn't belong on there. Let's blow the well out in case there was any grime in there. Now, if you're anything like any other average Joe mechanic, you don't have specialty tools. And you'll see that quite some time ago, there's no washer in there. Quite some time ago that either come out of there or I lost it or God knows what. So in lieu of that, I've got some long reach pliers to snatch spark plugs out of there. Now, since I have seen some spark plug sockets with extensions on them that do not come apart, and they are also magnetized, so it holds your spark plug into the socket, and I am seriously thinking about investing in that. Lefty-loosey on these, they might be a little tight. Torque spec, I believe, look it up for yourself, I believe is 133 inch-pounds. And I gotta double check my wrench because I'm not sure if I got inch-pounds marked on mine or not. I know it's got feet, but not, I don't know about inches. Yep, a little tight. I think it's about time for a lower radiator hose. It's something. Joys of working on it yourself, however you're going to save boatloads of cash. I put that light just about right in your way, didn't I? They might fight you a little bit coming out, squeaking and whatnot. Lots of threads on these. Lots of threads. There it is. Grab my handy dandy Hill Jack spark plug retriever. The problem is I take a chance of dropping these like I just did, which isn't such a bad thing on the new ones, or the old ones, I'm sorry. But it's not a great idea on the new ones. So, yeah, a lot of threads. So you can see, I'm told that they don't use any anti-seize at the factory. But you can tell that, sorry, I keep going the wrong way. That baby is smoked. Let me see if I can adjust this camera a little better for you. You'll see I got an Autolite shirt on. No, I'm not sponsored. It's a very old t-shirt. It's from the racetrack. So, if you can see it, there's old and new. It appears that there's quite a bit of difference in the gap, but it's hard to say because I'm looking at two different finishes here. And that can tend to throw your eyes off a little bit, so. But they're definitely worn. And with these platinum plugs, you really don't see too much of that node go away. But it should run a little smoother, I think. And not that I was having any issues with it, I just knew that it had to be done. Always a good idea once you got that plug out of there, run your air line back down in there. blow out whatever you can. There may be a bunch of schmutz that comes out of there. I mean, if you don't have a compressor, one of those cans of air might even work. Something is always better than nothing. You saw that crap that just came out of there? That's why it's a good idea. And I am going to put a little spot of anti-seize on that spark plug thread. Very minimal. Little dab will do you on this stuff, otherwise, well, those who know, they know. It will keep it from seizing or rusting up. It'll also thread in there a little bit better. Now the reverse of this certainly is not rocket science. Basically just doing everything I did to get it out of there in a reverse order. Never ever ever start your spark plugs with the wrench. Always by hand. So that's bottomed out. I'm going to get my torque wrench, get those torqued up, and after that I will throw my boot back on, run my bolt back in there, plug it back in, and I'm going to move on to the next one. That way as you're blowing these out, you're not getting anything else contaminated. And I will come back when I'm putting that air intake back on. I told you a fib. We're going to come back before the intake manifold. Dielectric grease. It's always a good idea to put some of that right on the end of the boot there. Just a kind of a nice bead there prior to putting it in there and bolting it back in. So next time we return here, it's going to be the PCV valve and then the intake. Alright, so I got a little spark plugs done. Remember I said the torque on those was 133 inch-pounds. Apparently if you want that in foot-pounds instead of inch-pounds, you just divide by 12. So pretty easy there, a little over 11 pounds, but use your own judgment on that. I take no liability. Going for the PCV now. Should just be a quarter turn on that. Try and get out the plastic there. It should pop right out of there. While I was back there doing the spark plugs, I jockeyed this hose around a little bit to get it to kind of break that seal around the PVC so that I'm not fighting with it once it's out. Correction, it's gonna fight me anyway. There's little locking tabs, excuse me, locking tabs that hold that in. Nothing serious. All it is, there's like 2 dimples on there. You can see them right there. And there's one on either side, and it just kind of falls right in. Just a quarter turn, lefty-loosey, so we'll get that swapped out and put back on. Alright, we're back. I got that PCV changed out. I have the the new gasket is on. Now the joy of fishing it back in there. And we will only do that partially in the beginning so that I can get that PCB hooked back up to the rear end of this intake. My shop light here's got a mind of its own currently. Buzzing and doing all kinds of neat stuff. Now it's a little loose, that'll do it. So before you get it set into place, you're going to get that PCB hose hooked back in. All told, I've been at this probably an hour and a half. Said and done, maybe 2 hours, I guess. So not bad for just being a garage guy. And considering, I would guess that they would probably $300-400 to have this done, if not more. And any day I can keep money in my pocket rather than handing it to someone is a good day. It's a little tight in here when you're trying to put this back on. You just want to make sure that that's going to seat and stay where it belongs. As I'm maneuvering this back in. Pull that antifreeze line back out of the way. There are 2 pins under here that line up into the top end of the engine. I think the biggest fight is going to be right here with that wiring harness. The way that gasket goes in there, that pretty much stays right where you put it. So I think we're there. There is a sequence to tightening this down. And if I'm not mistaken, the torque rating for the intake bolts I think is 89 inch-pounds. That's going to be on you to convert that. I'm not a mathematician, I can't just do that crap in my head. And the reason I had to convert it down is my torque wrench does not have inch-pounds on it. It's a smaller torque wrench, but I don't have every tool in the book, obviously. So it's 89 inch-pounds, and after you get to that 89 inch-pounds in sequence, you then do 45-degree turn. So say if your wrench is like this, you would come at 40, 90 would be over here. So you would come at 45, stop. Actually this way, because otherwise you'd be loosening it. So that's pretty much it. Get everything hooked back up, double check your work, that sort of thing. And you save some money and burnt a couple of hours, but you also learned something in the process. And you know it's done as properly as it can be done. You didn't get shafted, they didn't just change the front 3 and not the back 3. I've seen that way too many times. There's a lot of shady stuff going on out there with garages and mechanics and that sort of thing. So beware of that. Always buyer beware. Let me pull up that sequence for you, and I'll put it on the video here. That way you can pause the video and see the configuration. That way you've got it for your own tools there. That is not the right video. Interesting. All right, I've got that sequence for you here. You'll notice there's 7 bolts there. Now the one that is under the throttle body is not included because it's just a mount off to the side, so it really doesn't affect the torque of the intake bolts. So that's it, folks. I hope this helps you out. Hope you save some money. Boy, do I have some editing to do on this one. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good day.